scream and shout with all your might.
There's plenty of screaming and shouting going on.
Dig in your heels and hold on tight.
I mean, we can't honestly say that's a surprise, can we?
Either you are wrong or I am right.
Don't forget that ever-present third option. You are wrong and I am right. And that is most likely the way things are. Welcome to another edition of Stating the Obvious. Skip Dog here with you at 5:50 in the morning. Because, you know, I have to get up early and do my thing. I had to get up early and find my notes, too. It took me a while. I had to wander around, make the coffee, find my notes, get organized, wake up the lovely and adorable Randy. She did not appreciate being called at 5 o'clock in the morning and being told to get to the recording studio. But, you know, these are the sacrifices that we make here at Stating the Obvious in order to inform you stupid people out there just why you are wrong. Well, here we are. It's the 5th of November. Obviously, the election is over. And lo and behold, to the surprise of many of you out there, George Bush won. Which is, of course, exactly what I told you was going to happen. But nobody wants to listen. Coffee. Why don't you want to listen? It's because you're stupid. You know, I'm not even really sure where to start with this. I mean, let's just start with the obvious. I mean, George Bush won. George Bush received more electoral votes. And remember, 4 years ago, we were told by the Democrats that the electoral votes don't really matter. What matters is the popular vote. Well, you know, George Bush won more votes in the popular vote also. And yet now this year the Democrats are trying to, the popular vote doesn't really matter. We should have won Ohio. It's like, what are you people? Look, you people fucking lost. Why is this so difficult for the Democrat mind to grasp? You people lost. We had two ideologies here. We had a conservative ideology. We had a liberal ideology. Now, granted, anybody with a brain would recognize that both of these ideologies are flawed. But the simple fact is, the liberal ideology is more flawed overall than the conservative ideology. You know, and here's the thing. If Al Gore, we'll get to Al Gore in a minute. Al Gore, John Kerry, Osama bin Laden, how can you tell the difference? If Prince John had won this election, all we would be hearing from the liberal media is about how wise and intelligent the American people are, how they made such a good choice, how they'd finally come to their senses. And all we'd be hearing about the electoral system was, see, the system worked this year. The states all got their shit together, and everybody did what they're supposed to do. But no, John Kerry lost. And so now all we're hearing is, the American people were fooled. They were lied to. They weren't smart enough to see through George Bush's lies. And the electoral process is still corrupt. I'm walking down the sidewalk yesterday, and the graffiti is already out. There's this graffitied, stencil, spray-painted message on the sidewalk. Voting is a sham. It's like, no, voting is a sham only because you lost. Had you won, you'd be running around talking about how voting has restored democracy. You know, you people, what the fuck is wrong with you Democrats? Why can't you thick-skulled, dumb fuck people understand that the majority of people in the United States reject your ideology? They reject your beliefs. Why is this so amazingly hard for you? I mean, I'm sitting here speaking as a libertarian. I will be the first one to tell you that the majority of the people in this country reject my ideology and my beliefs. My ideology and my beliefs are based on freedom, based on personal responsibility, and based on personal accountability. And I will tell you straight to your face, dead up, why? Because I am not stupid. That the majority of the people in this country have no desire to be responsible for every aspect of their life. They have no desire to have to be accountable for their actions. Yet you morons continue to believe that, why, if everybody was just smarter, if they just weren't being fooled by evil George Bush, they would understand that liberalism is the way to go. No, they understand liberalism. They understand liberalism perfectly. They don't want it. I know. I know. Randy, of course, being a conservative Republican, is finding herself occasionally in a total agreement with me. Yes. Oh, I don't even know what to... Alright, I don't even know what to talk about next on the list, because the list is so immense. How about this? Let's talk about... What about the exit polls? You know, when all of this started... Remember when all of this started... The liberals were overjoyed because they thought Kerry was going to win. They had all these exit polls that showed Kerry ahead by some ungodly amount. You know, and we could talk about the stupidity of all this all day, but let me just briefly explain the skip dog philosophy on polls all the way around. It doesn't matter if it's Reuters polls or jackass polls or exit polls or my grandma told me polls, or whatever. Polls are people's opinions. At the moment, they mean nothing. They never mean anything. They never have meant anything. They never... Yeah, I need more coffee. They never will mean... Stop it. Stop that. You're making me laugh. I'm trying to be professional here and dispense my wisdom to the people of the world. Or would you stop that? Polls mean absolutely nothing. They never have meant anything. They never will mean anything. I've heard numerous stories about how these inflated exit polls came about. One version I heard was that the websites such as MoveOn.org directed their voters to go to particular polling places where the exit polls would be held and make sure they were exit polled and thus inflate statistics. And you know, this could be true, it could not be true. I just don't care. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter. The only poll that matters, the only poll that mattered, was the poll when people went in there and cast their vote. Exit polls, I have never cared about exit polls in my life. I have never cared about opinion polls. These things are all just loaded bullshit. You get the answers you want based upon where you take the poll at. We took the poll all across the country, and we got the answer. The answer was George Bush. Deal with it. We have to, you know, and we have this syndrome. I know people like this who say things. I don't know anybody who voted for George Bush. Well, they do because they just don't know it. And you know, this is another one of these things. These differences between liberals and conservatives that I want to briefly talk about, because we saw a lot of this in this election. We heard all this noise about how Kerry was going to sweep the polls, about how there was all this Kerry support, and blah 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 Kerry this, and blah 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 Kerry that. And, you know, I don't think Kerry ever had all this support that he thought he had. It just looks like he has all this support, because the simple fact of the matter is that, generally speaking, liberals are louder than conservatives. One exception to this rule would, of course, be the Every Sperm is Sacred group. They make a lot of noise. But for the most part, people of the conservative ideology are quiet. And they're quiet because they have these things called jobs. See, they are not welfare recipients. They're not trust fund children. So they don't have as much free time as your average Democrat voter. It's the election day. I'm going to work, and I see I'm right across the street from the Democratic Party headquarters. And I see out there all these little Democrats, with their little signs going, "Kerry, 8 years," all this other stuff. And I'm like, whatever. But, you don't see that. You don't generally see conservatives doing that kind of thing, because conservatives have jobs. They have to go to their job and make money, because they're not getting welfare checks from the government. So everybody believed there was all this wild support for Kerry out there. Not because it was actually there, just because it looked like it was there. Because Democrats have a lot of spare time to stand around with placards. They have a lot of spare time to call people on the phone and try to convince them to vote Democrat. They have a lot of spare time to protest. They have a lot of spare time to call the Al Franken show. And, oh my God, I've really wanted, since the election, I really wanted to tune into the Al Franken show and find out what his take is on this whole thing. And I have been unable to do it because, well, his show is so incredibly boring. I wish the left could find a spokesman who is actually intelligent and articulate and capable of rendering an opinion that somebody could understand. I mean, seriously, I want to hear. Yes, yeah. No, I do. I want to hear. Now, I want to hear an explanation from the left of how they lost this election, and I don't want to hear that voting is a sham, and I don't want to hear that the people were too stupid to get the Democrats' message. Because the people the Democrats, they think, well, they just didn't get our message. They don't understand what we stand for. They do. They do. They do. They did. They did. They do. People understand perfectly what Kerry stood for, in so much as Kerry understood what Kerry stood for. We understand. I understand. I'm telling you, I've told you this before, I'm telling you this again. I went into this election hating George Bush with a passion. And I've come out of it at least liking the guy. I still don't approve of a lot of the things he says and does. But, nobody has made George Bush more palatable to me than John Kerry. And the Democrats think this is because I'm stupid. It's not because I'm stupid. It's because I understand perfectly full well exactly what John Kerry stands for. We didn't get the message out. We didn't communicate to the American people. Look, I want an explanation from you people why you left, why you lost. Yeah, it's still too. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. Yes, I still need more coffee. Coffee. Yeah, what? Yeah. No, Starbucks. Corporate coffee gag. We have many local coffee houses here in Fort Collins. For those of you in the Fort Collins area, I highly recommend Mugs at College and Olive. Yummy food too. There's some good stuff over there. Gosh. And they have internet computer connections, yes. So you can do your interneting and eat your yummies and drink your coffee and get psyched up. I want to know how did the Democrats lose this election? I mean, they had Hollywood and all these actors stumping for them. Robert Redford and what's that other idiot? Alyssa Milano came here to Fort Collins, stumping for Kerry. I mean, there are tons of idiots out there who do whatever movie stars do. The left had Hollywood, they had all these actors. The left had Michael Moore. I mean, Michael Moore's running around the country talking all this smack about when we defeat George Bush and George Bush is a murderer, and showing his stupid film, Fahrenheit 9/11, which he claims is a documentary, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things about Michael Moore that I agree with. I think Michael Moore is a good filmmaker, but his films are not documentaries. His films are propaganda. He takes what he's got and he edits it in order to get his point across. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Making a film that is tailored to get the point you want to make across, there's nothing wrong with propaganda. Don't call it a documentary. Call it what it is. But yeah, call it propaganda, but there's nothing wrong with making propaganda and see this is the whole liberal mindset, is that you can't. All right, let me get to this. Let me just skip ahead a minute and get to this. This is the whole liberal mindset, is that this is why liberals are the party of evil and Republicans are the party of stupid. Because liberals know what they're doing is wrong and they don't have the balls to admit to it. This is why Michael Moore has to call his movie a documentary instead of propaganda. If Michael Moore really believed the crap in his movie, why is he so ashamed to say, why, this is propaganda, these are my beliefs and I'm trying to convey my beliefs? No, this is just a documentary. But, people always... See, this is why, after much soul-searching, I have determined that the Republicans are the party of the stupid, and the Democrats are the party of the evil. After the election, you go up to somebody, you ask them, so who did you vote for, Bush or Kerry? And if they voted for Bush, most everyone will tell you, I voted for George Bush. They're proud of this. Now, George Bush is an idiot, but the people who voted for him don't think he's an idiot. They're proud they voted for him, and they're happy to tell you about it. So this is why the Republicans are the stupid party, because they're too stupid to know their beliefs are fucked up. Now, if you ask somebody, who did you vote for in the election? They say, wow, voting is a private thing. It's a constitutional right that we have, and I don't have to share my vote with anybody. It's a secret ballot. You can bet your ass that person is a voted Democrat. The reason they don't want to tell you who they voted for isn't because of this constitutional right, privacy, sacred act shit. The reason they don't want to tell you who they voted for is because they are ashamed of who they voted for, because they know the beliefs of liberalism, they know the beliefs of John Kerry, they know all of these things are wrong. And they don't want to sit here and say, well, and this is why they're evil, because they're doing bad things, they're voting for bad people, they have a bad philosophy, and they know they do, and yet they vote for these people anyhow. It's just that simple. When you do something, and you know that what you're doing is wrong, and you do it anyway, like voting Democrat, that's evil. And for those of you out there who voted Democrat and you're arguing with me, you're wrong. It's... yeah! Randy is pointing out that that one person's evil is another person's good. Yes. Yes, my evil is, of course, your good. So whether or not Democrats are evil depends on your perspective. Absolutely. So, back to where I was. How did the Democrats lose? They had the support of Hollywood. They had the support of all these actors. They had the support of Michael Moore. They had the support of Osama bin Laden, who said, although we are ushering the 4th year after 9/11, Bush is still exercising confusion and misleading you and not telling you the true reason. Therefore, the motivations are still there for what happened to be repeated, which is exactly what the Democrats have been telling us. Why George Bush has lied to us about 9/11. George Bush is misleading the people. Because George Bush is president, we are in even more danger than we were before. I'm trying to figure out, in 2008, is the ticket going to... is the Democratic ticket going to be Hillary and Osama, or is it going to be Osama and Hillary? Because I'm not sure. I'm not sure who's going to be... yeah. Well, you never... Hillary did play... Hillary did backseat drive 8 years of the Clinton presidency. Well, she could certainly backseat drive 8 years of the Osama bin Laden presidency. Yes. But, I mean, okay, so the Democrats had the support of Hollywood. They had the support of Michael Moore. They had the support of Osama bin Laden. They had the support of the media. I mean, oh my God, I mean, do we even need to, again, mention the forged papers at CBS? Do we need to again mention the New York Times story about the disappearing weapons of mass destruction, which weren't actually weapons of mass destruction, they were just explosives. And there wasn't really as much disappeared as they claimed, and it turns out we don't really know when it disappeared, and it turns out the United Nations knew about the stuff before the war, but, you know, so the local media, of course, the Bullhorn, as I mentioned previously, the Bullhorn with their wonderful cover, Bye Bye Bush. Yes, I will be this weekend composing a letter to explain to those people that they're idiots. I'll probably post it here on the website. And, you know, it's all love. The Bullhorn is sometimes an occasionally interesting excuse for a local rag. They do their best. John Kerry. As I take a swig of coffee. The John Kerry had on his side Hollywood, Michael Moore, Osama bin Laden, the media, and should we... No, alright, we'll save that. The media. John Kerry had all these musicians. I mean, of course, I don't know why anybody gives a shit what Bruce Springsteen and the Dixie Chicks think. But he had these musicians running around stumping for him. And, yeah, see, I don't know. I mean, out of all of these, I have to think that the musicians are probably the least influential. Because, you know, the Dixie Chicks go somewhere and bend over for John Kerry and perform for him, and all these people show up. You know, how many of these people are actually showing up for the politics, and how many are showing up to see the Dixie Chicks? Right. See, I think of all these factors, I think the musicians are the least influential, because the people who show up to those things are there to see the musician and hopefully hear them play, and when the political stuff starts, they just tune it out. That's my theory. I do not have any opinion polls conducted to back this up, but okay, let's do an opinion poll right now. We're going to do an opinion poll. Were the musicians the least influential factor in the Democratic campaign? Everybody who believes that, raise your hand. Okay, Randy and I are raising our hands. That's 2. Everybody who does not agree with that, raise your hand. 0. So the opinion polls show 100% belief by the American people. Yeah. We're going to have to conduct our own opinion polls more often. That worked really well. And what's frightening is that my opinion poll I just conducted is just as accurate as the opinion polls, as the exit polls conducted on Election Day. I have the same degree of accuracy as the mass media. The Democrats had supporting them Hollywood, Michael Moore, Osama bin Laden, the media, all these musicians, and half the world. I mean, all these European countries out there stumping for Bush. What was the British newspaper, The Guardian, that got addresses of voters in Ohio, was it? Yeah, and urged their readers to send them letters asking them to vote for Kerry. I mean, newspapers and media and private citizens and people all over the world in other countries were stumping for Kerry. Yes, well, yeah, as if anybody gives a shit what Europe thinks. I mean, let's face it, the only country in Europe that's worth a shit is England, and that's because England knows its place. When America snaps its fingers, England jumps. Well, they should. I mean, we saved their ass. But like the rest of Europe, we saved their ass through 2 world wars and the Cold War. Personally, I'd send the little bastards a bill. So, I mean, I want a Democrat. I want a liberal Democrat to articulate to me how they think they lost in spite of all of these odds. And I don't want to hear that it's because the American people are stupid, Because yes, the American people are stupid, but they're not stupid enough to fall for liberalism. They're stupid enough to fall for conservatism. They're stupid, and you know, I'll end up. Yeah, I'll read it again later. I'll end up reading the Penn Jillette quote again. But you know, the only people in this election that should have any pride in what they've done, that have shown any spine, are number one, the people who didn't bother to vote, and number two, the people who had what it takes to actually vote for a third party. Because you know, again, all this crap talking about Nader, and we can't blame it on Nader, because Nader didn't get enough votes. Even if all Nader's votes went to Kerry, he still wouldn't have won. So at least they can't say, "Why, it's Ralph Nader's fault." You know, it's Ralph Nader's fault. You know, if you can't articulate a position that's more appealing to everybody in America, or let me say a majority in America, than the opinion Ralph Nader articulates, then that's not Ralph Nader's fault. I mean, should Ralph Nader not run for president just to make your life easy? Should Ralph Nader not articulate his position just to make your life easy? I mean, if at least the people who voted for Ralph Nader were voting for something they actually believe in. They were voting for some kind of ideology that they actually agree with. I mean, how many people can you find who voted Democrat who can tell you they actually agree with all of John Kerry's ideologies? And how many of them are just voting because he's not George Bush? And even with Bush, how many people voted for George Bush and yet haven't got a clue what George Bush's ideologies are? They're just voting because he's a Republican. It's the people who didn't vote. It's the people who said, "I'm not even going to participate in this screwed up system. I'm not going to validate the system by participating in it." And it's the people who voted for third-party candidates, be it Ralph Nader, be it the Libertarian, be it the Socialist Party, be it the Green Party, whatever. It's these people that actually showed some spine, showed some intelligence, showed some rationality. Yeah. I'm looking at the AirAmericaRadio.com website right now. This is great. George W. Bush won re-election by more than 3 million votes, a substantial improvement from his 500,000 vote deficit in 2000. Well, the people at Air America have finally noticed that GW won the election. My God, it's a miracle. And of course, where is it? So, will Bush use his second term to reach out to the whole nation? Bush's speech offered an olive branch to the opposition. You know, every election we hear this. The loser comes out and says, "We must work together." And the winner comes out and says, "We must work together." You know, the last thing I want is for the Republicans and Democrats to work together. Because anytime they work together, the American people end up getting screwed. I want the Republicans and the Democrats to not work together. I want them to reach a total impasse. I want them to filibuster each other into non-existence. I want them to never agree on anything, and I don't want them to pass any freaking legislation whatsoever. I do not want the Republicans and the Democrats to work together. That is the most terrifying thing I can think of, is the Republicans and Democrats working together. This is like saying, "I want the SS and the guards at the Nazi concentration camp to work together." Yeah, because that way they can kill even more Jews. Great. Good thinking. Let's get them to work together. The Soviets and the Nazis worked together when they invaded Poland. That didn't help anybody out. I don't want the Republicans and the Democrats to work together. Yeah. When we were discussing the election, when was it? Yeah, yesterday? No, Wednesday. When we were discussing this early in the morning, the days all blur together. When we were discussing the election at work Wednesday, I pointed out that John Kerry, even though John Kerry didn't win, he should still be assassinated just because he's alive. Yes, just kill him anyway. So, I did that. I'm looking at my list here. Yes. So, now this brings us to, I must quickly peruse. Dun, 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 dun. Well, alright, let's talk about this real quick. You know, All through this election, Kerry was accused of not having a position, of flip-flopping, of nobody knowing what he stood for. And of course, the left and the media denied this. Of course, Kerry has a position, blah, 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 blah. They denied this. Well, now, dun, 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 dun. Evan Thomas of Newsweek, in the latest edition of Newsweek, has an article, and in this he writes the following. The Kerry campaign was even worse run than you think. Kerry was a bad manager. He could never make up his mind. He would dither, and he'd second-guess every decision. They had to take away his cell phone twice, because every time they made a decision, he'd get on his cell phone and start calling 100 of his closest friends. So he's the biggest problem. But he was also not well served. He was a themeless pudding. They never really had a theme. Wait! Now, for the last 6 months, the media has been telling us that John Kerry can be a leader, that John Kerry doesn't flip-flop, that John Kerry has a consistent position, that John Kerry has what it takes to be president, and as soon as he gets his ass kicked, Evan Thomas, who remember, Evan Thomas promised 15 points to Kerry because the mainstream press was going to support him, thus destroying any illusion whatsoever of objectivity in the mainstream media, as if any of us thought the media was objective. I mean, that's a bunch of horse shit. Let me read this. He could never make up his mind. That's what Thomas writes. Now, isn't that the same thing as flip-flopping? He could never make up his mind. No shit. You know, those of us who paid attention to the campaign could have told you that. He was a themeless pudding. He's a pudding. He was a themeless pudding. They never really had a theme. I disagree with that, though. I disagree. They did have a theme. Their theme was John Kerry is not George Bush. That was their theme. And and the weakness of this theme, and one of the reasons why the Democrats lost, is because there are a lot of people who are not George Bush. Yeah, I mean, the local child molester is not George Bush. Should we elect him president? The panhandler on the street is not George Bush. Should we elect him president? Kobe Bryant is not George Bush. Should we elect him president? A retarded 3-year-old child with spinal bifida is not George Bush. Should we elect him president? And there's nothing wrong with being a retarded 3-year-old child with spinal bifida. I'm just making a point here that just not being George Bush does not qualify you to be the president of the United States. But if you're a Democrat, you're too stupid to understand that. Because to be a Democrat, you're a liberal. To be a liberal, you have to be stupid. You cannot be stupid and be a you cannot right. You cannot articulate yourself early in the morning before you've had coffee. You cannot be intelligent and be a liberal. The two are mutually exclusive. Liberal, I go again. Intelligent liberal is an oxymoron. Now, see, Randy, aren't you glad you got up at 5 in the morning? Where else can you have this much fun this early in the morning? Well, okay. I would repeat what she said, but I can't tell you. So the Democrats have lost, which is no surprise. And now, before this election, I had heard people saying that if the Democrats lost the 2004 election, that they were going to be out of power for a long time. It would be years before there was another Democratic president elected. Now let me just read this to you. This was spoken by Alan Elsner from Reuters. Democrats are likely to enter a period of intense soul-searching and internal struggles after their 2004 election defeats, as they ask themselves how they regain the confidence of the American majority. Political analyst... I'm putting the wrong emphasis on the wrong words. As they ask themselves how they regain the confidence of the American majority, political analyst said yesterday. I think this is a realigning election. The Democrats are going to have to get used to permanent minority status for a generation or two. So now, the root of this, what Elsner is saying here, is that the Democrats are going to be out of power for a while because they are out of touch with the American people. And I agree they're out of touch with the American people. You know, I heard this before this election, that if the Democrats lost in 2004, it was going to be years before another Democrat was elected president. And I'm hearing it now, and I'm almost inclined to believe it. But see, here's the one fly in the ointment for me on this. And that is Hillary Clinton. The Clinton bin Laden ticket, 2008. Yet I try not to make predictions very often because I don't want to be wrong and look like a dumbass. But this is a prediction I have to make. If Hillary Clinton runs for president, I think she will win. I seriously believe Hillary has an excellent chance. Excuse me. I seriously believe that Hillary Clinton has an excellent chance of being president of the United States. Of course, if she runs, I mean, that's kind of a qualifier. If she doesn't run for president, she's not going to win. If she runs, I believe she has an excellent chance. So the question is, when will she run? And this is... So if she runs in 2008, I think we have a quandary. I mean, will the people still remember this, and will that hurt her, or will they forgive and forget? You know, so these people are saying the Democrats are going to be out of power. I think whether or not the Democrats are going to be out of power depends almost solely. I think when the Democrats again win the White House depends almost entirely upon Hillary Clinton. In fact, I'm going to go out on an even further limb here. I am going to say the next President of the United States, who is a member of the Democratic Party, is going to be Hillary Clinton. Yeah, but and see, here's the thing, though. This also leaves the country with the Republicans, too. And I mean, it's 4 years away. But who are the Republicans going to run in 2008? Because, you know, traditionally the vice president goes up there. And, you know, I'm not sure if I see Dick Cheney as president. And I'm not sure if other people see Dick Cheney as president. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. You know, I think this for me, this election was a no-brainer because we knew the Republicans were going to run Bush, and we knew a long time ago that the Democrats had no options other than a bunch of idiots. I think the 2008 election is a lot more questionable than this election ever was. I never had much doubt that Bush was going to win, especially the closer we got to the end. You know, another problem with liberals is, among other things, they of course know how to run business or whatever, but I'm at the AirAmericaRadio.com website, and I'm attempting to locate the local radio station which carries Air America broadcast, so that I can listen to the Franken show today and benefit from his great wisdom and his pathetic attempts at humor. Because remember, Al Franken used to write for Saturday Night Live back when Saturday Night Live was funny. It didn't mean he wrote any of the funny parts. It just means that he was a writer there when it was funny. Anyway, so I click on the Find a Station link in order to locate the local station carrying Air America, and the website doesn't work. You know, I mean, the liberals Liberals cannot make a link on a website function, and yet they want to run the country. How pathetic. You know, you go to rushlimbaugh.com, the links work. Yeah, exactly. Alright, so, 2 more things, and then, where are we at? We're at, what, 40 minutes? 2 more things, and then, much like conservative Republicans, I have to go to work and actually earn my way through life because I am not a welfare recipient. The government does not send me a check every day. You know, Owen, on the topic of welfare recipients, you know, let me briefly hit this. Military pay. Yes. Oh, that would be wonderful. Excusez-moi again. Yes, the lovely and adorable Randy is bringing me more of the sacred juice coffee. Yes. No. Guinness is the nectar of the gods. Yes. Yeah, Guinness in the morning, that would help. Definitely. Ah, yes, thank you. Thank you. Much thanks to the lovely and adorable Randy. Alright, now where was I? I was going to cover 2 more things, and my mind went off on some other direction. Ah, yes. These are kind of related. MoveOn.org. You know, I've never actually... Oh, wait, yes. I need to do this. I'm firing up the web browser. On.org. Let's see what MoveOn.org has to say about their stunning victory. And later on... No. There was that. Look at that. Oh my god. No. Oh, I just spilled my coffee. For those of you who are wondering what's so funny, I mean, this is all it takes. I just type in moveon.org. And the website comes up, and it's so funny. Who are these idiots? Moveon.org victories. What are you talking about? What? MoveOn.org victories. What victories? Move On members have been... I can't stop. No. Oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize to those of you listening. I can't stop. Okay. I have to go to work soon. I better get my act together. MoveOn.org victories. I can't even say those 2 words together. MoveOn members have been instrumental in winning numerous policy victories on issues ranging from voting technology to marriage equality, and from protecting old-growth forest to repudiating the torture of prisoners of war. MoveOn.org victories. You just got your asses kicked. Why are you people so stupid? Because of you, there is hope. Uncovering the whole truth about the Iraqi war. This is far graver than Vietnam. And then we have this ad over here, galloping to the right. Why do American pollsters keep getting it wrong with this picture of a elephant and a donkey both running to the right? You know, and see, this is what's frightening, is there are people out there who think the reason the Democrats lost this election is because they're too far to the right. Why, yes, we're going to have federal health care. Why, yes, we are going to ask for the permission from the United Nations before we do anything. And of course, and let's not forget that when John Kerry is elected president, people like Christopher Reeve will get up out of their wheelchairs and walk. Well, you know, maybe that is right. I mean, claiming to be an evangelical who can heal people by John Kerry, Jesus healed people by touching them, but John Kerry was going to heal cripples just by being elected. He didn't even have to touch them. He was going to be elected, and the quadriplegics were going to spring out of their wheelchairs. Now that could be considered right-wing Christian type. Yeah, and and of course our favorite. Well, I support the Patriot Act. I would just apply it differently. So, but yeah, these people, they think the Democrats lost because they're too right-wing. What is wrong with you, idiot? Okay, so anyway, MoveOn.org will have to wait until later. As funny as that was. Oh my God, that was just... Now, I am totally awake now. If I'd hit that website, I would have not needed a second cup of coffee. My question is this. Now that John Kerry got his ass kicked, will MoveOn.org move the hell on? Which brings me to my final point. Before, and I have actual documentation of this somewhere, and I will be finding it, because I will be making fun of these people. Before the election, there are all these people who said, well, if John Kerry wins, yeah. I'm coming down off the high already. If George Bush wins election a second time, I'm going to Canada. You know, my question here is real simple. Are you leaving yet? All these people said, I'm going to Canada. You know, go. And this is a whole speech in and of itself that I'll probably give one of these days. To explaining if you want socialized medicine, if you want the government to regulate everything, there are countries for you where they already do these things. Don't try to implement this shit here in America. Okay? If you want to live in a regulated economy in a socialist communist country, go to Cuba, go to North Korea, go to China, go to the People's Republic of Boulder. But yeah. Stop trying to push your socialism off on us. And then you sit here and you say, well, if George Bush wins, I'm going to Canada. Well, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Go. I can think of nothing that would, nothing better than the fucking liberals across the United States of America to go to fucking Canada. Because once we've got those little bastards out of the country, all we've got left to defeat is the conservatives. Right now, as a libertarian, we have to fight a war on two fronts. We have to fight the liberals, we have to fight the conservatives. Let's get the liberals to fuck out. All of you who said you're going to Canada if George Bush wins, get the fuck out. Go. But you know what? And and again, this is the one thing, if you've listened to this whole thing, what I'm about to say is the one fucking thing that you need to take from this entire 50-minute piece. None of these people who said, if George Bush wins, I am going to leave this country, are actually going to leave. You know why? Because they have no integrity. They have no ability to keep the promises they make. They're just talking to hear the sound of their own voice because they are spineless cowards. That is why they're not going to leave the country. And that is, in fact, the entire reason why they vote Democrat in the first place. Because they are spineless cowards with no integrity. And you can fucking bank on that.
It's just a matter of opinions. Nobody keep off in sight.
Yes.
Why should you bother with the other side?
Yeah, not the spineless